In All of You, Laura and Simon have been best friends for years in college, and they realize soon after that their relationship may be something more than platonic, but it's a question of whether they take the risk to go in all in. Hey everyone, welcome to Cinema, where we focus on a film. I'm Josh, this is Simply Cinema. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of All of You. Was it good, was it bad, or somewhere right in the middle? Or if you're waiting for this review to decide if you're going to see it or not, and taking it right in a positive. All of You is a pleasant surprise where Mugen Poots and also Brett Goldstein just have a great budding chemistry that has an untraditional route with what it's going with this romance drama, falling about along the lines with years passing by, going about different mannerisms with the natural conversations that build up along the way, getting to know naturally the lives of these characters, but pretty much all the scenes are between the two of them conversationally. Sometimes it's with their mutual friends or with a husband that comes in later on in the game, but that also builds up something that's very interesting, a different technique that I highly respect and appreciate for trying to go in a different route that mostly works along the way. So the way you're falling about these two characters and falling about with this budding chemistry, I like that type of form where it's down to earth, it's pretty well grounded, and the conversational means just expresses a lot within what you can take out of the characters, how you follow about each of their lives, and how they connect with their friends and mutual benefits along the way that goes about within this world where there's so much done with the test, which is about this dating, trying to find your soulmate, and while it happens to work most of the time within this test that matches you with someone else, there's also questions that you're constantly engaged with, trying to predict whether these two best friends in college will end up together based on the fact that their relationship is more than platonic, is something that you never really get to latch onto one set of a prediction or the other. Whether they will end up together by the end of the movie, which I won't spoil, becomes something very interesting and appealing as an approach to the story, and the different caveats, the upsets, the wins to what you're wanting is something that you won't always get everything you want, but that also makes it a naturally world building story that is very grounded within these two characters' lives that I feel we get a lot from based on the conversational means that this film builds upon its own technique. Which goes me into the mixed elements. There will be some people that will be a little off put by what this film has to do. It's not your traditional rom-com or romance drama by any means, because it's a little more grounded, somewhat similar to the Before trilogy, but it's a little more focused in a different form of way. It has a slightly different feel than that trilogy, where this is still just a lot more spread out within multiple years passing by between different interactions or different months passing by, rather than a straightforward 24 hours staying together type of deal that the Before trilogy follows about. So while this still film is respectable to a means, there's also some things that will be a little off-putting, a little bit of a conversation that fans can have with one another about this film. So this film is good for a discussion to be had, but it's not always going to be winning everyone over for the means that it feels very different, original to some extent. Obviously, it follows some romance tropes or things you might expect to come about along the way, but it ultimately leans into its own surface means that could win people over because of how unique its technique is, but also could throw some people off if it's not necessarily the type of film that you're really close knit with what you're getting out of the characters. Which takes me into the negatives. Unfortunately, there's some parts about, especially the beginning of the film, where it meanders on a lot, where you already know from the get-go that based on the synopsis, based on what it's leading you on, even if you don't know the synopsis, these friends are more than what they could be making themselves out to be, and it feels a little unnatural that they aren't getting together right away. And even if they are or were going to get together, it doesn't feel like it flows about in a totally natural manner based on those mannerisms. Sometimes these people just have to split up at some point, decide they're not going to be in a relationship, and there's a little bit of a back and forth that, as the audience, we know from the beginning that it either will or will not work based on what it's lead on to, but it doesn't really go deeper into that conversation until about halfway through the film. And so while there is a great progression within the exposition, everything it's trying to introduce us to, building upon the look, the characteristics, and the personalities to their friends and these two persons alike, there's also a separation from the plot that doesn't feel like it's moving quick enough because we, as the audience, naturally know these two people have a certain storyline that will either lead them into separation or growing to be closer together as a tight knit relationship. But it ultimately takes a bit to ultimately get to that point, so that could ultimately throw off the generalities of what you're ultimately taking out of the characteristics. So that's just my personal review for all of you, which I have to rate a simply 6.5 out of 10. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of all of you. Was it good? Was it bad? Or somewhere right in the middle? Or if you were waiting for this review and now going to decide if you're going to see it or not based on my review. Make sure to like this video if you enjoy it, subscribe if you haven't already to join in film culture community where we talk about the love of cinema as a whole. So that's just all, and make sure to do yourself a favor and go watch a movie.